If you thought Jujutsu Kaisen was just gonna be another arena fighter, you were dead wrong. The details they've been slowly revealing about this game are showing something that we've potentially never seen before. Today we've got new playable characters, new gameplay systems, and a quick look at just how unique they are willing to make each one of these characters. Shout out to Shonen Games for the hard work in translating all of these scans. Let's take a deep dive into just how crazy this Jujutsu Kaisen game is becoming. Alright, let's start on this page right here that talks about your cursed energy. With any character that you pick, if you increase your cursed energy, you will increase your cursed level, and your abilities will become more powerful. In Itadori's case, his Divergent Fist will become Black Flash after you increase your curse level. This already tells us a lot. Now, this isn't exactly the same, but it reminds me a lot of Ultra Rumble, where we take Shigaraki for instance. He has an ability that puts down a circle of decay, and if you're at a lower level, the size is decent, but after you level it up, it becomes gigantic. And this seems to be something akin to that, but with your meter probably. The more meter you have, the stronger your attacks become, almost like leveling up your character. Gojo, for instance, is able to use red and blue from the get-go, but if you increase your curse level, you can use purple too. And so far, this seems different, but very straightforward. We're only getting started though. Leveling up your curse level doesn't just improve your abilities, it also provides you with a passive buff, and this passive buff is actually unique for every single character. They give us two examples here. Yuji's passive is called Gear Up, and he gets a speed buff. Since he's a rushdown character, this is gonna make it easier for him to get in
and deal the damage.
And Gojo gets Limitless Curse, which means he gains temporary super armor. Now, I would say that this sounds like a surge in Demon Slayer, where all of your attacks become armored attacks. But reading the description makes it sound even more busted than that, saying that he cannot receive damage from any attack for a set time. So it's more like invincibility rather than armor. These two passive buffs are completely different from each other, and if you take into account that more than 15 characters are gonna join the roster, plus DLC, then you can start to see how crazy this roster can become, because if this is how different Gojo and Itadori are, then how unique is everyone else gonna be? Everyone's gonna get different abilities to level up with cursed energy, and also different passive buffs. But like I said, we're only getting started, because there's a very big question that you probably have already asked yourself at this point, and if you did, that's a great job, Tim. The question is,
how do you get the cursed energy?
The smartass in me would say, just play the game, bruh. But it seems like it's a bit more complicated than that. Basically, there are two different types of attacks in this game. There are curse techniques, which we just looked at with red, blue, purple, black flash, all the colors of the rainbow. And then there are also managing techniques. Now, this is the translation from Shonen Games. I bet the official name will be something else entirely, but I guess we'll call it managing techniques for now. Now, these do not damage the opponent, but that's how you get your cursed energy and eventually level it up. So you use managing techniques to build meter, and then you spend the meter on cursed techniques and getting those passive buffs too. The thing is, when I look at these scans, the managing techniques seem to just be normal attacks. You can automatically go from managing techniques into cursed techniques. That sounds like going from normal attacks into special attacks in any fighting game or arena fighter. So my question is, are managing techniques just normal attacks in this game? And if that's the case, do normal attacks not deal any damage in this arena fighter? It sounds ridiculous, I know, but here are a few things in the scan that actually support this theory. First, you've got these screenshots. This managing technique from the panda is just a punch. This managing technique from Toge is just a kick. Even though they're managing techniques, you look at them and that's just something that you could find in any character's auto combo from any arena fighter ever. And the second hint is this quote from the developers. In Jujutsu Kaisen, you can only exercise curses with curses. So maybe that is how they are translating the small detail from JJK into the game. Damage can only be dealt with special moves, aka curse techniques. And when you take that into consideration and remember that this game is being primarily built as a 2v2, that becomes even crazier. But before we even start to think about that, you have to understand just how unique they are making each one of these characters. It's not just their curse techniques, it's not just the passive buffs that change, they are building entirely unique gimmicks for each one of them. We've talked about Itadori before, he's very straightforward. He's a brawler who likes to get in close and deal heavy damage. I bet he's not gonna have a ton of ranged attacks, but he's gonna get a speed buff from his passive, which allows him to get in closer much faster and much easier. Gojo, on the other hand, is a character that will have projectiles, and very big projectiles at that. Paired up with his invincibility, he's going to feel like an absolute god in this game, but game balance is still their concern. To balance out Gojo, what they're gonna do is make these huge attacks take longer to activate. And because now we have a cursed level to worry about before you can get your passive buff, then Gojo is just gonna take longer to build that cursed energy. So he will be powerful, yes, but attacks are slower and it will take longer for him to reach that state. Now, since the game revolves around cursed energy so much, what does that mean for Maki? Well, instead of having a cursed gauge level, she will have a physical level. They don't really explain how that's different, so maybe it's not. Maybe it works the same as the cursed gauge, but has a different look to it. What we do know is that her playstyle is going to revolve around using various curse tools, so I think we can assume that she'll also be a close range fighter. Panda, on the other hand, very different character. By leveling up your cursed energy, Panda can go from Panda mode into Gorilla mode, which from what I understand is just stronger than Panda mode. He gets a boost to both his attack and his defense. So as far as I know, there's no upside to playing Panda when you have Gorilla available, which makes him an install character. That means a character that has access to a transformation once you reach a certain point in the match, and that transformation is nothing but beneficial for you. Toge uses cursed speech in the show, and in the game, that's translated as a ranged ability. So he's the second character with ranged ability so far. It's him and Gojo. We'll talk about Nobara soon. According to the scan, he's gonna have big range, and the cursed speech is incredibly strong, but if you use it too much, you will start to gain damage on yourself. It's the dry throat. That's how they interpreted it. It's one of those characters that's really powerful, but that power comes at the cost of your own health bar if you can't manage your stuff correctly. And if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear about Sukuna. Oh, right now? According to this Bandai tweet, Sukuna wields heavy, indiscriminate blows regardless of friend or foe. And this is why I wanted to explain character gimmicks before you think about what all this means for a 2v2 setting. Sukuna is actually capable of friendly fire. And you can see it right here. This technique is hitting 3 characters. One of them is for sure your ally. I don't know which one though. But at the same time, not every attack in this game will deal damage. So if you're the Sukuna player, that's something that you can probably manage. If you have friendly fire on at all times, maybe you can just go for some managing attacks, and even if you hit your teammate, it doesn't matter. Managing attacks do not deal damage, you're just building cursed energy. It's a little bit of speculation because we don't fully know how Sukuna works just yet. All I know is that I'm going to be randomly matched with a Sukuna player that will 100% kill me. At some point during this game's life, that is definitely going to happen. Now, we don't actually have a ton of Nobara and Megumi information. We did see snippets of them in the announcement trailer, and Nobara is definitely capable of long range attacks too. She can shoot her nails by hitting them with her hammer. And we also briefly see her Black Flash, so that's probably what happens when you level up her cursed ability. Megumi, on the other hand, has several creatures at his disposal, which now that we know how this whole game works, maybe you get access to more powerful beasts as you build up your cursed energy, or maybe you're able to bring multiple beasts into the stage at the same time. But the details on both of these characters are a little bit thin for now. So, now do you see how much crazier this game actually is than it initially sounded? It looked like just another arena fighter. All of a sudden, there's all these mechanics that I've never even heard of. And the number one reason why I'm so much more excited for this now that we've learned all of that is because this game is coming from a developer that's actually pulled this off already. Viking has already made an arena fighter with a pretty big roster where every character plays very unique. In this game, you also have your rushdowns, your armor monsters, your zoners. But then you have the weird gimmicks like this guy who counters voice lines. This guy creates a clone of your opponent, and then you control both you and the clone simultaneously. This guy sets up trampolines, and then you can make opponents bounce between them. And even though I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen is as crazy of a universe as My Hero can be, you know, in terms of unique powers. It's plenty of crazy as a setting, but I'm talking about unique abilities. I think My Hero has the potential to be even crazier, but for some reason, Viking seems to be a lot more willing to go crazier with mechanics on this one. They are creating some really unique gimmicks and a gameplay system that's unheard of, that's making me look forward to playing something like nothing I've ever played before. That's the word on Jujutsu Kaisen for now. If you would like to know what this roster looks like, here is my prediction. I am 100% correct so far. That said, we haven't really gotten to the hot takes yet. Thanks for watching. Bye.